IATA expects 5 billion passengers to fly this year. You and me add us all up and eventually we'll be up to 5 billion. It's a roaring recovery after COVID. But with that comes a new set of challenges. The number of people who are voting in elections around the world, key elections, the sticky inflation, where prices just won't come down, the slim margins, 3.1%, and the supply chain issues. I spoke to IATA's Director General, Willie Walsh, who told me where the industry stands now is difficult.
It's great to see all parts of the industry at a global level back in profitability. But it's still a very small level of profit. Now, $30 billion is a huge figure. But when you express it in margin terms, a margin of 3.1%, it's still a very small margin.
So what work needs to be done? Is it on individual airlines in terms of making them more profitable? Is it in terms of consolidation?
I've always believed that consolidation is part of the solution. It's not the answer, but it is part of the solution, particularly in highly fragmented markets like Europe. So I think we will see some consolidation going forward. But our industry has always been very much focused on our cost base. What can we control? And you'll see that, we've been facing significant inflation in jet fuel costs, way beyond what consumers would have experienced in terms of, petrol prices at the pump. So challenges there, but these challenges I describe as business as usual challenges.
So what's the unusual? What's the bit that you can't, you're 30% fuel.
Regulation. I think regulators, politicians look at our industry and think this is a highly profitable industry. And they look to us to generate new tax revenues. And I think people forget to look at the bottom line. And I know you're going to say every industry faces regulation. I don't believe they face regulation to the same degree that we do. And, that's a job that the industry has to do to push back against some of these measures that I believe are unfair.
But you've got this problem in aviation, the supply chain issues, essentially then magnified by Boeing's own safety issues.
Yes, the supply chain has been a big challenge since the start of the recovery. The best I can say about that is it doesn't appear to be getting any worse, but there's little evidence of it getting better. It's more an issue of frustration, to be honest with you, because it's not new to see delays to deliveries with new aircraft. What is new is the complete uncertainty around when you're going to get the aircraft. And it's not just Boeing. Boeing clearly has greater problems than Airbus, but Airbus has had problems delivering aircraft as well.
The sustainability question is so mind-bogglingly complicated. And the core problem, Willie, is there's not enough sustainable aviation fuel around and it's too expensive and nobody seems to have an answer as to how to get more.
You're absolutely right. I look at this as, the most critical thing we can do is to ensure that we have a credible pathway to net zero in 2050. Now, it's not going to be smooth. I've said this before. It's going to be expensive. It's going to be complex. But I do believe we can get there. Sustainable aviation fuel is the single biggest contributor to the path to net zero.
You have the European system, which is much more designed to penalise.
Yep.
You prefer the US system.
Absolutely.
Which is to incentivise the production rather than to penalise the lack of.
Absolutely. What we need is production. You're not going to get greater production of sustainable fuel in Europe by introducing these penalties. What you will get is zero environmental progress and higher costs to the consumer.
But how does an industry let this get through? How do you not have enough force to at least alter the argument?
You ask me what would I do if I ran the world? I would do it differently to this. There is a big disconnect between what Europe does and what the rest of the world is doing. And I've said this openly. I think Europe were arrogant about this because we assumed that the rest of the world can do what we in Europe do. And this idea that people should use the train instead of the plane.
If you were a doctor,
amputate.
If you were a doctor and the industry is your patient, how would you say its health was?
I'd say it's a healthy patient that requires more exercise and needs to stop doing some of the bad things, change some of the habits. But it's survived an incredible scare. And it's recovering well.